Hi, everyone. I'm Lauren Walker, the Manager of Athlete Development here at USA Volleyball, and today I'm privileged to be joined by Nickie Sanlin. Nickie Sanlin is the head coach, head men's volleyball coach at McKendree University, and she's also serving as the director of volleyball there and the assistant director of diversity, equity, and inclusion. So Nickie has a lot to share with us today, not just about growing a men's program, but also about promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion in our sport. So that's what we'll be focusing on today. Nickie, thank you so much for joining us.
I am happy to be here.
So one of the really unique aspects that you bring to the volleyball world is you grew and built a men's program collegiately. So tell me a little bit about what you learned in that process of growing the men's program and what you think the men's game or coaches who are coaching in the men's game need to think about.
I think that we think that men's volleyball is this predominantly California. I know there's pockets in the Midwest, there's the coast, but there are a lot of athletes that do not understand that it's an amazing sport. That most of the guys that, that I had at my first couple of years, they said I wasn't a great baseball player or wasn't a great basketball player. I've done soccer, hockey, you name it, but volleyball seems to be my thing. And they're from blue-collar families. Volleyball is an affluent sport predominantly, and they just wanted a chance, so that was cool for me, and they were willing to take a chance on me when they're like, "You're not a man. Did you play?" And I'm like, "Yes, I played." So that first couple of years, I had to run with the team, lift with the team, work out with the team. I hopped in drills. You named it. I did it just to gain their trust, garner respect. I ran a very tight ship. I'm a lot, as my players say now, I'm very soft now. But the guys they're different. I had a mom ask me a long time ago of what was my strength? And this is maybe year 2. How can you handle my son? And I'm like, how can your son handle me? And my biggest strength is that I'm a mom, that people look at these large young men that they're 6'6", they're 6'7", 6'9", and they think, go be a man, go do this, go do that. Where guys cry in my office. We hug a lot in my program from start to finish. They take care of me. They're very concerned about my feelings, that I'm okay, that why is she carrying that bag? They're respectful, but they're very just large boys. And people automatically assume that they're going to be grown men because of their size and stature and maybe bravado, but they need hugs. They need affirmation just as much as the women do. They need lots of love. They need guidance. They need someone that's not going to back down from them when they're upset, because that's typically what they see. Like, okay, this female coach or female authority figure is just going to back down from me. And I'm like, well, no, I get bigger. I'm the majors. You're the minors. That's how this works. But they need a lot of love. That's where the program started. That's how it is now. We did a cool thing this year where we made our bag tags, and it has everybody that's in the program that wore that number. And just to remember where we came from, we started 2013. So we are going, we are doing, and I'm just proud of it. I love it.
I really love what you just said, Nickie, about the fact that sometimes we wrestle, especially when we have a female coach with male athletes, male coach with female athletes. We wrestle sometimes with gender dynamics or gender stereotypes maybe in there, but you were really getting at, these are still athletes,
yes,
humans at their core, and these are basic needs that my athletes need attended to by a coach.
We talk a lot about, I do this PowerPoint where it's Nickie 101, and the biggest stressor in that PowerPoint is there's 4 pictures of me, where it's me with my family. So I'm the mom, me with my friends, like I'm a friend, me with my sibling, I'm a sister, me with my boyfriend. Okay, I have a partner, and then it has me coaching in there. The next slide, and I'm like, I am Nickie who coaches, not Nickie the coach. And I say a lot that not just male athletes, but female athletes too, they tie their self-worth into the sport. And yes, of course, I want to win a championship. I want to recruit the best athletes, all these great things. But I will think that guys don't leave my program because there is more, that I'm telling them that they're more than just a volleyball player. Like, don't put your stock in how practice went today, how if you played bad, that's you're a good friend, you're a good brother, you're a good son. All the kids I have come from great stock. Like, the parents are awesome. Um, we should do a better job as coaches to say that, like, Lauren, who plays volleyball, not Lauren, the volleyball player. And we don't do enough of that. And I think we do a disservice to the kids, where it's a culture shift of, even as a parent, you don't want your kids to be in pain. The kids aren't as tough as they used to be. Mental health is much larger, and in a focus, where I still think we can build tough kids, but I think we can also compartmentalize several things of, are you tying that to, you had a bad practice, that you had a bad mental health day, or is there something else going on? I do think that we need to do a better job of that as coaches, and that's what I try to do as the best I can. Obviously, you get caught up in practice and you get to play matches, but I appreciate there's a certain level of trust that they want to talk about. How do I handle this relationship? How do my parents are going through a divorce. How do I handle that? We had a young man die in the program, unfortunately. And as we all know, in college, we think we're invincible. And it was no one's fault, and he had wonderful, God-fearing parents that are like, he loved you. This isn't anyone's fault. And I share that unfortunate story. And I say the gift of grief is gratitude, and being more grateful. I wish I could bottle up that feeling of nothing else matters, but I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful for this job. But we try to do that a lot in the program, but still be, here we are. We got a job to do. We got to be tough. We don't have, big name. We have to be tougher and more hardworking, more blue collar than our, I guess, larger school counterparts. But human, I think you said that. So it's being a human, being a good human, being a good person. I tell them I expect them to fail. Failure is a part of their growth process. I'm here to not just pick you up all the time. I'll tell you it's stupid. That was dumb. But I expect them to do a certain level of, have a certain level of failure personally, because otherwise, how are they going to be successful adults? So
Yeah. I think there's two really key things that you just said that I think our coaches need to kind of hear is, one, that idea of supporting our athletes' multidimensional identity.
mm-hmm.
Not a unidimensional volleyball is the only thing. If volleyball is not going well, then I'm not going well.
Yes.
Right. And I really love the framing of, you are a volleyball player. And I love the framing that you give your coaches, or I'm sorry, your athletes, from you as a coach, and saying, here is my multidimensional identity. Yeah. Here are the pieces of my identity that are important. So how do you lead conversations with your athletes to help them do a similar thing, if you do?
We talk a lot about transparency. I never want them to assume what I'm thinking in that standpoint. I'm blunt to a fault. I don't want to be passive aggressive. I'm not trying to hurt their feelings, but we have a lot of tough conversations where I give them choices. We talk a lot about quitting, like not quitting maybe the sport or quitting the school, but just giving up. It's always at the forefront, and I'm very vulnerable in myself, that maybe to a fault, that I want them to see that I have also experienced hardship in my life, and that sometimes things that they do hurt my feelings, that I'm also a human being, and I engage them with that. I challenge them with that. We have a lot of those conversations in an organic way in practice, or something that came up, and we talk at the beginning and the end every day, and I do a lot of office hours with guys coming in for film, guys wanting to meet, but always transparency, and always being able to admit that I'm not the gospel, that I am wrong at times, and I don't. A fun phrase I say is like, I'm not going to tell you sorry if I don't mean it. I will tell our women's athletes a lot of, don't just like, oh, sorry. No, you're not sorry. Just don't shrink yourself. I go, if I say sorry to you, that means I'm really sincere about what happened, and I will not say, yes, my intention was not to hurt your feelings. I'm sorry that happened, but the conversation needed to take place. And typically we hug after that, after I kind of yell at them and give them the business. But transparency, they can handle it. Sometimes I don't think they can. I don't give them benefit of the doubt, but they can. They can handle it. We can challenge them to do that. They can take tough conversations. But if that is the forefront, like if that's the baseline of your culture, then that's what they're going to expect getting here. And they're going to tell the kids coming in, like, Nickie's a straight shooter. She's tough, but she does a good job of separating business from personal. But because as soon as it's off the court, we're good. And or if we had a tough conversation, there's a lot of coaches out there that hold that grudge of like, oh, I'm so mad at them. Like, I have to tell myself they're kids. No matter how much they upset me, I tell them when they leave the office, it's over. It's done. And I think I do a pretty good job of, that's it. So that's how we handle it there. Always upfront, always transparent, always ask the question. Because if you don't ask the question, then how are you going to know? And then you're going to assume and you're going to go in a spiral and all these things. So transparency is number one in our program. And if coaches are comfortable, I would suggest that for sure. Because I tell the guys, my middle name is Confrontation. But, excuse me, confrontation in my world, in my mind, confrontation is synonymous with communication. Confrontation doesn't have to be nasty and ugly. That just means we're communicating at a different level. Assertive, that just means direct, informative in my mind. Yeah, I think there's all these connotations for women coaches or women in athletics that if I'm a confrontational, assertive, direct, that it's a negative. But those things are still synonymous with other words, and I don't have to be nasty or disrespectful. It's just we're communicating and we're finding a solution, conflict resolution.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the framing of that too, because that is, you've been in this collegiate space for so long. Mm-hmm. You're a director of, both volleyball programs now. And so you've really experienced what it is to be, a female coach in that space and kind of think about those aspects and to frame it for your athletes as this is communication.
Yes. That's the only way, because they have so many errant thoughts of, she doesn't like me. She didn't look at me today. She said this, and this is what I thought she meant. That I want to have clarity. You never want someone to leave your program thinking that I thought this of Lauren. Well, we never talked. You never asked. Like, let's figure it out. And obviously, we lose kids that aren't comfortable, but I say my job for you is I want you to leave this program being a soldier entering the world, because life sucks. Life's tough. You're going to go to a boss who doesn't care about how you feel. How are you going to manage that? How are you going to stick up for yourself? How are you going to find a respectful way to engage in conflict? We are teaching them life skills. We are educating through sport. And people get hung up in, yes, if I could win a national championship, I'd give my right pinky. Cool. That's awesome. But I don't have guys really leave the program. And if they leave the program, it's for good reasons. And I'm like, how can I help you? Instead of being like, get out, we're done, cut off. So if we can teach them that from, I guess, when they get there, because I wish I could say they get taught that when they're in younger ages, but that's why they're sent to me. They know what they're getting in the recruiting process. I recruit differently because I tell them it's not about you. And they're like, wait, isn't this my process? I'm like, no, it's about you. It's about us. It's about McKendree. It's about our culture. We have to like you. You have to fit us. And then the kids are taken aback of like, wait, what? I'm like, no, we want you here. We want it to be a mutually beneficial relationship, but I'm not here to sell you or kiss your butt and say, all the sunshine and rainbows and butterflies, but it's about us. And the kids that want that, they're like, yeah, I want to be a part of this. Then they get it. Transparency, conflict, confrontation. I talk to their parents a lot, which that's taboo. We don't talk to parents, but no one's asking me about playing time. They're asking me if their baby boy is okay. Is he homesick? Does he need a hug? Do we need to come down? And that's good. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that. That's just my style. I get flack for it, but I feel confident in it. I want to be my authentic self. And if I can do that, then I can show them that this is authentic. This is what you want. And they can also do that. So kind of modeling like that representation from that standpoint.
Yeah, absolutely love that, because that feels like that's a key piece for making a program inclusive is saying this program isn't about you.
Yes.
It's about the team. It's about the culture. It's about the values that we established.
It's about us.
So as you've built the program, as you've served kind of in your position with diversity, equity, and inclusion, both with your university and in the AVCA committee that you've sat on, what have been keys that you've seen that really increase both diversity and inclusion, feelings of inclusion in the sport?
Well, now there's more representation. So even as a female athlete, when I was, a young fledgling volleyball player, there weren't many people that looked like me. The taboo, it's not a girl sport. Representation for me means everything. McKendree was in a national championship game. Wow. Like, okay, I know people don't think that's a big deal, but there are the U20 group is extremely diverse group, which when I started in USA in 2012, 13, some years ago, it didn't look like that. And now it's not a girl sport. It is, you don't have to play basketball because you're tall. We're finding that my biggest thing that I talk about a lot is like, how are we finding ways to increase participation in underserved communities? We have to find a way to balance costs. I know there are a lot of scholarship opportunities for young men, but that's not enough. I do get it's a business, but it's a constant conversation of how we're having give and take of overhead and making the club run. But there's this young man who's from the inner city who they decided to start the boys team, and he's quit basketball because he thinks he can be good and he jumps out the gym, but he needs to be seen. But also having representation in that community, like the HBCUs, the SIAC conference of, oh, wow, there's actually men's volleyball here. And they all look like me. In our community in the St. Louis area, like we have, we have Hispanic, Black, LGBTQ athletes, like it's all of us together. And I joke with them when I give them a speech. I go, all right, let's think about this. Why you came to McKendree. You play for a Black female coach in an interracial relationship with a daughter who is in the LGBTQ community, whose son is autistic. What more can you ask for? You get to hit all the spectrums here. So we talk a lot about inclusive language. I try to say good human, good person. I'm Queen Nick. They love me. I'm okay. But they don't understand that you get to get all these facets in one person. And when my son comes to games, I'm like, you got to talk to him. He needs communication help, and they get to learn from someone else. And then next thing you know, someone's like, oh, well, my younger brother's has Downs. And I'm like, okay, cool. Now we get to talk about it. Now we talk about our inclusive language of how does that affect other people. And we have talked about it a lot, and it's not intentional. They're not trying to be hurtful, but they're kids. And hey, guess what? Would you say that to me? Would you say that to my daughter? Would you say that to my boyfriend? Would you say that to my son? No, I would never. Then why would we say that out loud? So it's trying to get representation. That's like the big bullet point in the middle. And we were trying to have little strings away from representation. And it's getting better. It's becoming more inclusive. There's becoming more opportunities for these young men to play. But now they also have the ability to see someone that looks like them compete at a high level. And that's awesome.
Yeah. Now, I love a couple of things you just said. One is about cultivating that inclusive language. And again, going back to that communication, I think that what you were talking about earlier, creating that culture of transparency, of communication, being at the core, I would imagine lends itself really well to being able to have those conversations about inclusive language.
Yes, very much so, because they already know what they're getting, because we talk about it in practice all the time. And they will actually say, another student athlete said this. And I'm like, what did you do? Were you a bystander? Did you say you didn't like it? Did you tell someone? And then most of the time it's like, we're telling you, so you can go do something. And I'm cool with that. But now in this role at my university, being diversity, equity, and inclusion, my first step in like the baseline is just education. So right now we're highlighting every month and having programs, and it's going to be International Student Athlete Week coming up. We just got out of Hispanic Heritage Month, where we were highlighting our Hispanic student athletes and coaches. It's Filipino American Heritage Month, where a student athlete's like, thank you guys for highlighting that. I felt seen. Um, and just educating everyone and things that I didn't even know, that I'm like, I'm not the end all be all, but in my process of educating our athletic community, I'm also educating myself. And I can also take it back to my team, where we have quite a few first gen students where their families immigrated from like Poland, Slovenia, um, Czech Republic, things like that, where they also share their experiences of their bilingual. They go back home. Their parents immigrated from America to give them a better life. So now there's a whole nother aspect of things for them to share. We're going to highlight our Polish athletes next week. And it's like, wow, somebody's talking about us. I'm like, yeah, this is cool. This is the communication. This is the education. And just giving them a voice, even if it's small, they always have the autonomy to say, how they feel, what they want out of this, how they don't feel seen. And now with the diversity and inclusion, now I really feel seen because someone was talking about Filipino Americans, and that I didn't even expect that response. But it's like, oh my gosh, cool. We're talking about the Polish Americans. Cool. I've loved Puerto Rican athletes, and they are passionate, and it's how are we showcasing that with the world. We have a Pride night every night, or every year. A lot of our faculty are like, thank you. You're the only person on campus that highlights Pride. And I'm like, wow, really? Like, okay. Like, what it was saying we say is Pride night is every night for us. You can't come in this program, and I'm not saying we change minds, because we do have a couple of athletes throughout the years from rural communities. I'm like, well, guess what? You get to learn here.
Yeah.
So just representation, education, and communication are super huge for us. Not perfect, but it's something that we at least try to strive to do.
I think that is a really nice, just kind of take it with you in 3 words, right? Representation, education, communication. Because I think what people can resonate with very much that you just said, and I personally can resonate with, is the more you are educated about this, the more you start noticing where it pops up, the more you can create those opportunities for greater representation or greater communication.
Exactly. And that's not shying away from it, because everyone's like, it's taboo, it's this. And, obviously in the political sphere that we're in right now, and elections coming up, we talk about it, but not in a sense of this is right, this is wrong. This is the best thing about all of us, is that we're different. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care in this, as long as you're a good human, you're kind, you're willing to be an active listener. We don't have to agree about our political beliefs, our religious beliefs. We just need to be empathetic, respectful, and have an understanding. Because people are so right now, and it's heartbreaking to see, very like staunch this, staunch that, and I'm not talking to you, and I'm not talking to you. And hopefully my program is this bubble of, you can be who you want to be, you can believe in what you want to believe in, as long as we're good to each other. And just like I say, our differences are what make us special and what make us great. Because you'll never meet someone who was homeschooled from Tennessee and they play volleyball, or this person played ice hockey growing up in just northern Minnesota, and they somehow fell into the sport because their sisters played. Or we have, like I said, a couple athletes who are straight from Puerto Rico, and their experiences growing up on the island, moving to Florida, and English wasn't their first language. It's cool. It's very cool. And I'm just hoping to continue that and try to make a little impact. Yeah. A little impact, I guess. Was it a pebble in the water? I'll make some waves. So
yeah. No, I love the concept, and that goes back to what you were talking about earlier, is, you're building a program of humans,
yes,
diverse humans, and
very much.
You're just aiming to say, hey, how can we increase our empathy, our communication, our relationships with each other, to recognize the breadth of what we bring as a team and as individuals, and in these multifaceted identities.
It enriches the program. It's more than, like, super cliche. It's bigger than you. but it is. It's not, you're leaving a lasting legacy of who do we want to be here. Yes, we're chasing a championship. We're trying to win. That's over here. That's its own pocket. But also, I promised their parents that I'm going to help them grow up as young men and be a part of their 4 or 5 year journey. And then I can send my baby birds off into the world and knowing that they're going to be great people and they can handle anything. If they can handle me, they can handle anything. But it's just, I wish I could say it was easy. It is. I can't say it is easy now because there was a lot of blood, sweat, tears in the beginning. I felt like quitting, and I have a great support system of coaches, great mentors. And then now I wish I could say it's easy because you never want to see your athletes, or they're my kids. You want to see them cry. You don't want to see them hurt. But the fact that they're willing to have a tough conversation with me and they still want to hug me after, I will take it. I will do it. And it's cool. I'm just proud, I guess. Sometimes I think I still am a fledgling coach, which I'm not. I was telling my roommate Blossom, who comes from a storied volleyball family, I'm like, the best thing that happened to men's volleyball is women. Just so they know, they'll never forget, and we are one of them. I just want to be a good coach. But then I also realized, oh, you want to talk to me because I'm a woman. Okay, I can do that. That's great. Where I was telling her actually this morning that most of my mentors are male mentors because there was no one else for me. I could have reached out to other sports. I came to a women's conference here, which was great, and saw wonderful women. I'm in various groups, and I talked to a lot of other coaches, but no one coaches men's volleyball. I think that's unique. That's different. It's inspiring to see like the NBA and the NHL and women going into positions, NFL, but it's still unique to my situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, now, am I somebody's mentor? Is that how this works? Okay.
Have I flipped the switch now? I'm a mentor.
Am I? I still lean heavily on coaches, but I'm not a spring chicken. But I sometimes forget that I am that person for people, and I have to believe my own hype.
Yeah.
And help them learn and how to deal with the athletes, and if they're having pushback, and again, remembering that they're young boys that are just big.
Yeah.
And they need love, communication, and help. Some receive it better than others, but just reminding them that, like I said, the best thing that happened to men's volleyball are the women that are involved in any capacity, from athletic directors to staffers to assistant coaches, graduate assistants, tech coordinators. We're the backbone. Here we are. And the men think they run the show sometimes, but it's okay. It's awesome.
So, Nickie, I was just curious because you were just talking about how challenging it can be sometimes to build those inclusive climates, to have those conversations, and how what got you through kind of the challenge of that was having those folks who were your mentors. What would you now, flipping the switch, being the mentor here, if I'm the coach who's in the midst of that, want to build an inclusive climate, but I'm struggling and I'm feeling maybe some pushback or some resistance, what would you recommend for me to get me through that?
I always tell a lot of young women coaches, like, start with the tight fist. Like I send our current women's head coach the Arthur gif where he has the fist and he's shaking that fist. I'm like, that's how tight your fist needs to be. And you can cry when you go home, but you cannot back down. You have to stay steadfast, and you have to build your core values. And this year's team, we created a mission statement for the team. Each young man had to create a mission statement. I have a mission statement, and I asked the coaches, I'm like, what do you believe in? What are your 3 words? Like, again, I hate to be cliche, but I'm like, loyalty, respect, trust. That's what I believe in. That's it. And getting them to think about what is that they can be steadfast. That's the hardest part, because it's always, oh, you should quit your job and take your family, or you should do this. And I'm like, you can do anything and everything that you want to do. Just do you have your support circle? And that was a big thing for me, is who are the people that you can rely on that aren't yes people, that you trust, implicitly with your feelings and emotions and your doubts. I had a lot of doubts, but they reminded me who I am. And I definitely said it at some point. Like I was born in the fire. I was bred there. And I remind other women that you can also be born in a fire. I live it. I breathe it. I'm not afraid of it. I'll go my Game of Thrones reference. But they have to see that, see that for themselves. And that's what I push them to see, is that if you stay steadfast, you'll come out on the other side. The light at the end of the tunnel is very small, but it's there. It's the pinprick that you can reach for. But it's more self-belief, creating philosophies, creating what they want to do, what their language is, like how they're communicating. And it's just guiding them in those avenues and directions of, you can, basically. Support system, you can. Figure out the other stuff, which will take time, which will change over time. But belief goes a very, very, very long way. And how you want to be talked to, like, what is your love language? I don't want anyone to sugarcoat anything. I want them to tell it to me straight. I want to get it out of the way, rip the Band-Aid off. Not everybody likes that. They need to figure out what that is and helping them, guide them there. And that's, I feel like, my, I guess, gift of trying to help others figure out the best version of themselves from a coaching capacity to an athlete capacity. And just trying to be honest and understand that I don't have all the answers. And if I'm wrong, I'll apologize and be a good human.
Yeah.
That's it. That's a big sign for everything. Just being a good human. Yeah. But figuring it out, it's tough. It's very tough, because I definitely wanted to quit a lot of times. But, I've had a lot of people say to me, "You're Nickie Sanlin. Like, you do it all. You do everything." I'm like, I don't want to be her today. I don't want to be Nickie Sanlin anymore. And like, shake it off. What is it? Again, I love movie references. So like, get yourself together. And I'm like, okay. My players have done that for me.
Yeah.
And they like, come on. They'll push me around. I'm like, come on, get up, get out. Yeah. And I'm like, all right, you hug? Yes, I do. But they're huge. So I'm just like sitting here like this. But it's the support system goes a long way. And, I think my trigger is, if you tell me I can't, I'm like, oh, I can't. Okay, then I will show you who I am. And getting young women to understand that they have that. Getting young men to understand if they have that. I go on and on about support systems, because that's huge. If you have a parent telling you, or a sibling or partner saying yes to everything, you're not going to go anywhere. You need people in your corner that are going to be like, you're doing great, but we need to redirect and reframe. And that's hard to take, that criticism. I'm not always great, I will say that. But when you reflect, you're like, yep, you're right. You have to check your ego at the door if you want to grow. And that's probably one of the hardest things that people have to do. But I figure if they're asking me the question, or if you're asking me the question, that means you're ready for that ego check. That's cool.
Yeah, I really do love, like, it's such a great nugget to take with you as a coach, is that idea of don't surround yourself with yes people. You need to people who are going to challenge you. But
yes,
the other key to that was you need the people to challenge you that know you.
Yes.
Right? That remind you that you're Nickie Sanlin.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up, what would you say is kind of your hope for where men's volleyball goes, or how we build it to continue to not just support men's volleyball, but continue to support inclusive climates in it?
Educating the coaches. That's first and foremost. We have a lot of star power in men's volleyball, and we have a lot of men that leave our round to go to the women's volleyball. I'm like, how are we making an impact there? Educating others, being willing participants to this, and just leaning into discomfort and uncomfortable conversations, and not backing down. I see, it's like, okay, if I don't talk about it, it's not real. But now I that was kind of in the past, but now I start seeing people with more of what's happening in our country they're willing to have more open conversations, or they're asking questions. That's huge. If you don't ask, you don't know. And just trying to evolve with what's happening. Because if you don't evolve, you're going to get lost. But making things more accessible, can we get more screen time like the women are pushing, and not be the stepchild of our community? Because there's a lot of great stories in our sport. There's a lot of great men that are doing wonderful things that people don't hear about. There's a lot of great men that helped me along the way that I still lean on and people don't hear about. How can we highlight those stories and push that growth the same as some of the women's growth? But it's a delicate balance, because you don't want to overshadow and you don't want to take away. But how are we making things more accessible to young men that want to join our sport and see it on TV, or be able to come to a game and see it, sit in front row, and like, oh, I can do that. Oh, they look like me. Oh, that coach looks like me. Oh, a lot of guys are like, you remind me of my mom. I'm like, yes, that's a great answer. But we would have never had that conversation if I wasn't in these spaces to engage young athletes. This accessibility. So can we make our men's coaches more accessible? Representation. Educating our coaches, who then in turn can relay that to our student athletes.
I love that. Well, Nickie, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited for our coaches to be able to learn from your wisdom.
Okay. I'm awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Nickie.